Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm a former Boeing 737 pilot and a member of PMDG's tech team. In today's video on common flight simmers mistakes flying the Boeing 737, I want to cover a topic that I know a lot of you have probably fallen for already, in many cases even without noticing. We're currently maintaining an altitude of 5,000 feet and we are turning onto a base and eventually onto final for an ILS approach runway 04 right at Pisa Airport. Now, you can already see that we are receiving the localizer at the moment, but not the glide slope, and you can see we're about 26 miles out. Now, many persons in the flight simulator simply arm approach mode by the time they are cleared for the ILS. Now, that can work, but it mustn't. Now, why is that? Well, let's start a little bit earlier with some theory flying the 737 and what sets the 737 apart from other airliners. So, in the 737 we have two different functions coupled to the approach button. One of them is the ILS approach mode, the other is integrated approach navigation. Now, when you press the approach button and no valid ILS signal is being received, then your airplane is going to enter the IAN mode. What does that mean? How does that work? I'm going to tell you now. So, you can see we are receiving a localizer signal and we are just capturing that after we press the approach button. Now, we can also see glide slope mode is armed because the glide slope signal is being received over here. Now, if you arm the approach while you do not receive a valid signal from the ILS, so if you arm it without having a positive identification on the ILS up here, then your 737 is going to arm what's known as the integrated approach mode. I'm going to show you what that means in a moment here. Let's go back to LNAV for a second, deselect the approach mode, back into LNAV. Come on, you can do it, I'm sure you can. Might have to update the direct to Jesse here to get it back to an intercept heading. Here we go. Alright, so now let me deselect the ILS frequency and I'll show you what happens. In this case, you can see we are not receiving an ILS frequency, but once you press approach, you can see that the airplane enters integrated approach navigation, and all of a sudden you get indications as if you were receiving an ILS. However, you are not, so don't be fooled by the indications up here. What you get in the top corner of your primary flight display now is ILS 04 right Zulu, which is the approach that you've planned, and the distance to your runway. And you can also notice it has entered final approach course and glide path mode rather than glide slope. Now, a common thing that happens in flight simulation is that you get a localizer capture, but you still have glide path armed, GP, not GS. And when that happens, what the airplane is doing here is you have entered a mode which is designed for non-precision approaches to be flown according to the SOP for precision approaches, thereby simplifying the procedures required to fly your airplane. Or in other words, the IAN mode, Integrated Approach Navigation, simulates an ILS, but what you actually have in front of you is signals from the flight management computer simulating an ILS. Now, what can happen if you are in the wrong mode? Well, basically, the signals over here are now from the flight management computer and not from the actual ILS antennas on the ground. So, the basic result is you don't fly the precision approach that you want to fly. This can become especially as much a problem when you're flying or when you're attempting to do an auto land, but it likewise is a problem if you are flying anything where the actual ILS signal is slightly different from what you're getting from the ground. An example for that is in cold temperatures, you've got an altimeter error, and using IAN, the airplane is not able to compensate for that. So, what do you do then when this happens? Well, most important thing is to check that you get correct indications. So we've got FAC rather than VOLOG, and we've got glide path rather than glide slope. Also, we can see up here that we do not receive the ILS identification on our primary flight display, which is a clear indication that right now we're in IAN mode rather than ILS. So, is there actually a difference between the two? Well, let's find out. On the PFD we are getting IAN signals, but if we use the standby attitude indicator on the approach mode, and we've got an ILS frequency tuned, like now, then we also get the ILS signal on here. And as you can see, there actually is a difference. We are on the glide path of the IAN, but you can see we are below the glide slope that's actually being transmitted by the ground station of our ILS. So what can you do then when you're accidentally in the incorrect mode? Well, the easiest thing there, once the approach mode is captured, you can no longer deselect it. But what you can do, recycle the flight directors, select the correct mode, and then activate the autopilot again. Now you can see we're in Vorlog and glide slope, so now we are actually established on the correct ILS. Alright, so, again, to recap, the most important thing over here, be sure that you only press the approach button when you are within the confirmed reception range of your ILS. Now, normally, the confirmed range is 25 miles for the localizer and 18 miles for the glide slope. That is what ICAO publishes as the protected area for the ILS, where you can be sure that the signal you have is going to be reliable. Outside of that, and your ILS may or may not be indicating correctly. There are possible local variations at local airports, for example, due to topography or other reasons, and those are usually published on the approach chart in question. So have a good look on that one when you are preparing for your ILS approach, and be aware of the range at which the data is reliable in your simulator. Now, I'm saying in your simulator because there is a small difference here between the sim and real life. In real life, ILS signals can typically be received far outside of the range that is published by ICAO for your approach. Now, that data may or may not be reliable, and therefore you may or may not use it. If you want to be on the safe side, simply use the data only for when it is published in either the airfield charts or following the standard ICAO approach criteria. Otherwise, simply use LNAV and VNAV to intercept your profile, and then switch to approach mode at a later point in the approach. You can always extend the centerline and arm LNAV, then you're going to intercept that extended centerline, and then you can always just activate the approach button a little bit later. Alright, that's gonna be it for this video. Now, I do know you guys love seeing my landings, so let's just get the 737 down. But in the meantime, I'd like to say thank you very much for watching already. Hope that you learned something from this one. If you did, do let me know in the comments below.
50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
Alright, thanks for watching everyone. If you did like the video, be sure to leave a like in YouTube as well, as it does help with the algorithms, and I am really looking forward to see you all again on the next one. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're up for more, as that is going to be your best way to get notifications about new videos as quickly as possible, especially if you turn that little bell on that YouTube offers after you hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching, see you all again on the next one, and in the meantime, if you liked my video, then I would appreciate a small donation through the Buy Me Coffee link in the video description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all again on the next one.